good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you may be in the world. I'm Sarah Jane, and this is Gift of Healing TV. This week, I am delighted to welcome Pat Armitstead, who's actually in New Zealand. So for Pat, it's 8:30 Thursday morning, whereas it's 7:30 Wednesday evening for me. So let me introduce Pat to you first. Pat is a joyologist. I love that. I think that's great. Pat is the world's first joyologist and has been fulfilling on that role since 2001. It's all right, I'm not reading this properly. I apologize, folks, and those of you that are used to me will know this by now, so I apologize, Pat. She has worked for over 40 years in leadership and training and development roles and was president of the National Speakers Association New Zealand 2001, the most awarded speaker at the 2000 NSANZ convention and 2002 NZ Speaker of the Year. I'm assuming NZ means New Zealand. Pat has convened 2 international conventions for the National Speakers Association of New Zealand and has toured internationally with Dr. Patch Adams, my apologies. She has been a professional speaker for 16 years and is a published author. Her first book is called Humour Works, and she features in 4 others. Pat has just completed her second book, Anti-Zac, A Joyful Prescription for the Unhappiness Epidemic, and is working on a third, Joyful Empowerment, The Only Way Out is Through. Pat, sorry about that, but welcome. It's a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you. Yes, I'm delighted to be here. Wonderful to connect with you, especially at this time of the year. Thank you so much.
Absolute pleasure. And yes, as you said, it's perfect for this time of the year. Pat is originally going to be on with us literally just before Christmas, but we've had a little bit of swap around of guests. So we're bringing this now, and we hope that you'll come back to this if you're feeling a little bit down, and it'll help pick you up, because that's the whole idea, having a happy Christmas. And having holidays, whatever those holidays are, it's about bringing more joy into your life. Hello, Karen. Karen's one of our regulars from Paris. So Karen, lovely to have you with us. Folks, let us know you're here. We like to say hello to folks, and we love to know where you are as well. It's great because we've really got some international here today. So first of all, Pat, please share a little about how you came to be the world's first joyologist, but what brought you to that in the first place?
Well, I was a registered nurse in Australia for 16 years, then by default ended up in advertising for 11 years, and just before the turn of the century had a series of losses and relocated to New Zealand with my partner, who came from here. Suffered some more losses, and my partner of 20 years left with another woman. And I really managed those other losses, but not that. That one really just knocked me off the rails. And I spiraled down, became very depressed. I was a bit of a mess, actually. And my doctor wanted to prescribe antidepressants. And I said to her, well, actually, I don't want to take antidepressants. I'm grieving, I've had a lot of losses, and then, my partner leaving. I'm grieving. Help me with that. Anyway, she wasn't equipped to do that. And I went to 2 events on one day. It actually changed my life. I went to a grieving seminar and sat next to a man who had, there were 400 parents in the room who'd lost children. That's what the seminar was put on for. And the couple I sat next to were kind of pivotal for all the changes that came from that day. The man I was sitting next to, I spoke to in the break, and he shared how his teenage son had fallen to his death, and how he and his wife were. And then about 3 or 4 hours later, I talked to a magician, yes, a magician in Australia, And in the middle of that conversation, there was just a little pause. And in that pause, I got a message, and the message was, oh my goodness, we've got radiology, pathology, hematology, but no joyology. I'm going to be a joyologist. So at that point, I had no idea what I was going to do with that. I was a bit like a dog with a bone, wanting to find a place to hide it. And so the search the next couple of weeks led me to deliver 2 pilot programs in aged care. One where I taught the residents some yogic laughter, and they did that every day for 90 days. They were actually awarded, they were the first retirement facility, and they were acknowledged as the first laughter facility in New Zealand. And from there went on to do another 12-month program in that same facility, working on the activities program. And I believe we created the most extensive and varied activities program, delving into all the multiple intelligences. So from there was a steady transition over the next couple of years, because I still needed to work out what it was I was going to do, what will I cover, how will things be delivered. So its beginnings were in a period of loss. I tell people I didn't learn about joy by studying joy. I learned about joy by experiencing grief, shame, and embarrassment.
But I think that's where so many of us start with everything that we do, whatever it is. You know, so many people's wake-up call seems to be a loss of some sort, whether they lose all their money, their home, whether they lose a husband or a wife, whether they lose a child, you know, sort of lose a job, lose their health. Everything seems to come from a loss. And you know, you said spiraling down, and that's what so many do. You spiral down to start with, and I think we find that inner strength. We find something that helps us to pick ourselves up, and brilliant. And laughter. What is it they say? Laughter is the best medicine.
Absolutely.
And that's exactly what it is. We've mentioned Dr. Patch Adams, and I know we had a quick conversation at the very beginning, and I'm sure there'll be loads of people who know who Dr. Patch Adams is, but for those who don't, please share just a little bit. It'll help people to understand a bit more.
Patch Adams is a real American doctor who, ever since beginning to practice, has dressed in clown persona. When he studied medicine, he saw that practitioners were not getting the joy that they thought they would from the practice of being in service to heal others, and he vowed that he would be the source of that. And so he dressed as a clown and set out to be the source of that, not just for other medics and health professionals, but also for those who were recipients of care. He had a vision to create a free hospital called Gesundheit, which is not there in its entire rollout, but nevertheless it exists. So Gesundheit being the sneeze thing. And so Gesundheit has been operational for quite a long time, with about 1,000 actually practitioners coming and gifting their time over the year, and people transitioning through, coming for a couple of hours, a day, a month. People come and just receive this very holistic and integrated healing and support. He's also been doing many tours, one through Russia. He's been doing that for 30 years now, the 1st to the 16th of November. He takes a troop of people, 36, in clown persona, visiting orphanages in Moscow and St. Petersburg. He's also taken troops elsewhere, many countries, built little hospitals, built schools, created the change that needed to occur using the funds from people who just love his outreach. So people give to him to support the work that he's doing.
And you said that you actually went to Russia with him on one occasion or more?
Just once, yes. Yeah, we toured for 16 days, beginning in Moscow for a week and then on to St. Petersburg, visiting 2 to 3 orphanages a day. And when I first rang him about joining him, he said to me on the phone, he said, "Pat, don't come because of me. Come because you'd like to find and spend your clown self. Come because you'd like to experience for yourself the disparity between rich and poor. Come because you'd like to make at least one Russian friend." And I said to him, okay, so, should I go to clown school? And he said, well, you can go to clown school if you wish. He said, but I'm not looking for a performing clown. My clowns are compassionate clowns, and I simply want all of the people who come to be able to walk into a room and make something happen. So that 16 days, we were just all present, and we just allowed every entry into a facility to unfold. Sometimes we would work alone with a child, sometimes we would work in groups. We would just let the encounter unfold, and it was a very sad, glad experience. I've never seen such stark poverty. I've been in a lot of environments, but this was pretty gut-wrenching. Most of these children live in facilities that look a bit like post-war camps, barbed wire fences, barbed wire rolls at the top of those fences. Some places the children they've never seen sunshine. They've never been allowed out. One facility, all the children were medicated with an aldehyde of some kind and wore these really crude straitjackets. So we had sad times and we had glad times, and we on that 16 days learnt to ride the wave, and we worked on ourselves so that as we left one facility, and we might be very, very moved by that encounter, and we'd get back on the bus and we would all help each other centre and become present again, so that we were in a good position to be a gift at the next place that we went to. There were, many significant encounters that really woke me up to the level of healing we can do. So I did go to clown school. I actually went twice because I failed the first time. How's that? But it didn't matter, because being present and in the moment, things just unfolded and you just allowed the outflow. I did some improv acting study, so that was extremely useful. The first rule of improv, as I studied it, is that first thought is correct. So it frees your mind, gets rid of the hanya stuff, which allows you to just go with first thought, with whatever comes up. So a lot of my work was mime and like street theatre, moving statues, and I had a puppet called Doubting Thomas. So Doubting Thomas.
Right, you're breaking up. You're breaking up on us, Pat. We've got to Doubting Thomas, but we need to get you back again.
So over the days, I was able to step into that character, and as I did, I really came to appreciate the level of presence that was there for myself and what that enabled. One little girl in particular at the Deaf, Dumb and Blind Institute in Sajiev Posad, as we came into the foyer of the building, this little girl in a blue velvet dress came with her hand outstretched, took my hand and led me off into a room at the side, sat me down on the floor and started playing with my earrings, these two. And so I'm sitting listening, and a real sense of anticipation. I just really felt, wow, something incredible is going to happen here. Had no idea what her condition was. And so I'm sensing, and then she started to hum. And I knew by the tonal quality of her voice then that she was deaf. So she hummed for a little time, still holding my earrings, and then she stopped. And I thought, okay, it's my turn. So I hummed. And she hummed and I hummed for 45 minutes until they actually came to call me for the bus. And in that 45 minutes, I had no stray thoughts. Nothing came in from elsewhere. I was totally present. And it's the only experience in my life where I've held that sustained level of presence. And it's one of the most wondrous periods of time in my life. She, of course, was picking up my vibrations through touching my ear and earrings here. So she was getting the resonance and being able to, because she was deaf and dumb and autistic apparently. So every encounter had a story behind it. Every encounter had some healing behind it. And I came back to New Zealand feeling more vital and alive than I've ever felt in my whole life. And what I appreciated was the reason for that was we were present to it all. There were very, very sad, stark, gut-wrenching moments. You know, most places had no toilet paper, no hand towel, no light bulbs. The food was very precarious, and we experienced it all. So there's that whole, if there was a mood barometer, we experienced it all. And in experiencing it all, you're enlivened. So one of my things is, you know, when things come up, we need to go to it. And in going to it, then we move through it, and we'll see disparity, we'll see paradox and synchronicity, we'll see challenge, but because we're present, we'll also see support. And the more present I've become over the years, the quicker I see the support. Challenge continues to happen. But alongside it now, I see there's a gem. And that little gem can come 5 minutes after the challenge. So it just shows you how the universe is working that way. Animals in nature does it without any help. We need some guidance sometimes.
we think too much.
Yes.
We've got Jackie from Bristol and Lorraine from New Zealand, so welcome. And if anybody else wants to let us know they're here, please do. Right, you had your own things that you went through with all your losses, and you've mentioned laughter yoga. So are there any sort of little techniques, hints that you'd like to share with us that people can use for themselves?
Well, look, I think if anyone's near a laughter yoga group and you're moving through a difficult time and can't lift your state, laughter yoga is brilliant. You know, essentially what happens, it's like, I don't know if you have Clayton's over there, but it's the drink you're having when you're not having a drink. It's a non-alcoholic drink, so it's a Clayton's. And, you know, in doing the exercises, you're tricking the brain, if you like. The brain thinks, oh my goodness, I'm having a good time. It releases endorphins and other physiological changes occur, and you feel better, right? So your energy and mood is lifted. And you know, there are groups here and around the world that they meet weekly and they do their thing for an hour, and their mood is consistently elevated. When I did the process in the rest home, the elderly residents did it every day for 90 days. And in the doing of that, they took back their power. It was a great rest home. There was nothing wrong with it, but they were passive recipients and they became enlivened. So, you know, we need to find things that fire us up, and laughter clubs can be a brilliant place for that. But also becoming really aware of where your passions lie. For example, myself, I love to speak. And when the lights go on for somebody in the audience, it's like, yes, my job's done. But I also love to paint. And when I'm painting, I don't need anybody. So I'm at one with the page. I'm not bothered by life. There's just this energy between myself and the canvas. And if I have enough of those two things, then I'm leading a very balanced life. So I think it's really about finding where does your passion lie, what brings you joy. So many people find pleasure in being by the sea. Somebody, a friend on Facebook the other day, wrote about this encounter she had with the wind at the beach. And it almost sounded like a romance, you know. She had painted it with lovely words about the tickling and the sensual feelings, and it was gorgeous, you know, uplifted so many other people. So the more we get present to our environment and the things that are around us, then the more we can see and appreciate.
Yeah, absolutely.
I always set out with the intention of catching people doing something right. So for anyone who's moving through difficult moments, one way to lift yourself out of that is to find a way to be a contribution to somebody else. And that doesn't mean, you know, money or, you know, having to invest, but looking around you to see where you can be a support. Go and visit somebody in a rest home. Greet people when you see them, you know, talk to people in the supermarket. Start interacting with humanity, because everyone's hurting in some way. Everyone's got something going on, and that's increasingly so. The incidence for breast cancer here in New Zealand now is 1 in 6. So, you know, that's an extraordinary number of people who are being very significantly challenged, and we don't know who they are. So, you know, this passing parade is actually the very place where we can be a contribution. So, you know, the extra words at the checkout, engaging at another level with people, seeing what's happening and intervening if we feel called to do so.
And great, absolutely. But by being connected to people, the one thing that I would say to people is, but don't do it to lose yourself. Do it to find yourself. Because human beings are very good at, if I do that for them, I haven't got to worry about me. And they do it to lose themselves rather than to find themselves, rather than to bring themselves joy. I suppose the same goes with alcoholics and drugs and any sort of addiction. It's a way of trying to get out of what's going on in your life. But you commented earlier about it is a matter of find your way through it, work with it. It's not a matter of trying to get around it. It's not a matter of trying to ignore it. Most of us that work within the therapies, we know that if we don't deal with something, doesn't go away. It just finds somewhere to settle within our body. It festers, and it will cause us even more problems until we deal with it. And so this is what you're saying. You're not saying go out and forget what's going on with you. You're saying go out and help bring that joy into your life by helping others. Work through it. Don't try and step round it or ignore it and bury it.
A very useful tool I've found also, especially the last 10 or 12 years, is journaling. I used to journal first thing in the morning. Now I'm not so disciplined about when it happens. Rather I use it when I feel I need it. And one of the things that I think is brilliant about journaling is you get the scramble out of your head and onto the page, and it's a bit like tidying your desk. As you get things straightened up and organised, then you've got this clear space. So it's like spilling onto the page, all of that hanya, head talk, everything that's not working, and the little mumble and moan about that. Then it's like you've cleared the space, and that's why so many recommend, if you're going to journal, do it in the morning, spill it onto the page, and then you're clean to set out for the day. And then in the evening, just take a few minutes and find things that have occurred over the day that you're actually very grateful for, and express that gratitude, which is a wonderful space to go to sleep on, to go to go to a place of rest, having expressed that, seeing, intentionally going and looking and seeing, what was brilliant about today.
Absolutely. And it's also looking for what you're grateful for within the day. Even if it's, like you said, the Facebook post that you said you saw about the beauty of that wind and the experience that she had with that. It's finding those things within your life that have worked for you, that bring you a greater sense of self, I suppose. And I think what's also important to me is people realizing that, do you know, it is okay if you are number one in your life. You are not meant to be an afterthought. It is okay to take care of number one.
I've been not well myself this last 12 months. If you look at the medical diagnosis, it's psoriatic arthritis. And 10, 11 months ago, was barely able to walk, very affected by the level of pain. And it took some months for me to get to a point where I knew it was going to heal. So those first few months were not just an agony of physical pain, but a level of despair about what was happening in my body, and wondering, am I going to heal? Can I? Knowing in one way that I could, but having some doubts at another. And I'm well on a path now. It's still got a way to go. And what I'm really appreciating now is I had some serious trauma over 30 years ago, and I never told anybody. I endeavoured to a couple of times, and those avenues just didn't work. And so I just closed off. And I believe very strongly that this arthritic condition and all the things around it have been the result of 30 years of stored grief and anguish around that time, and trauma.
There's no two ways about it. We're very, very good at storing it, of not speaking about it, and not thinking, well, we can't because sort of there are other people that are suffering more than us. Well, we're all going through stuff, and it's okay to think about you. It's not about thinking about you to wallow in it. It's about thinking about you to get over it, to be able to let it go. And I suppose this is where the finding what you're grateful for, finding things, find a program that makes you laugh, find a group that does the laughter yoga, find things that bring a smile to your face. And you said, cheat your mind into thinking that that's how you're feeling.
And acknowledge the fact that we can experience all those things, I think is an absolute wonder. When we sit and think about what an incredible sensing machine we are. that we can be in this multitude of different places, and the messages that those feelings can bring to us, and then the choices we have about, you know, taking some action or, you know, deliberating on a path. And the more inner awareness that we get, then the more we can respond appropriately to the external. You know, I've got a feeling something's not good about this. If we're so clouded in old pain and really numbed off and disconnected, then this sensory aspect of ourselves doesn't work anywhere near so well. We haven't got that deeper intuitive sense. I know this year that's been very effective for myself. Normally a source of 100 ideas and high energy and onto things, and you know, I had to sleep half the day as well as the night and didn't have access. So we've got to heal that. And it's not to say that things are gone. I think some of those past losses need to be honoured for what they were, and to honour our strength and honour our vulnerability. And you know, people, there's a saying, get over it, and I don't really like that saying so much. I think it's more about moving through it. I lost my first child, a daughter, and that's 38 years ago. And you know, it doesn't sit there fresh with me still now. I'm very at peace, but I had a healing about a couple of months ago, and in that healing she surfaced again, and I was just so stunned. It was like, oh my goodness, I thought I'd healed that, but an aspect I hadn't healed was because I didn't think I could bear the pain at the time when she was eventually delivered, and they offered her to me to nurse. I couldn't hold her because I didn't think I could bear that pain. And this lady that I had the healing with, a forensic healing, took me to that place, and I stepped through a process with her, nursing the child that I never held, and holding her close and talking to her, saying the things that I would have liked to have said, but didn't think I could cope with at that point. So an incredible gift. So being able to see and honour all these, you know, very poignant parts of our lives.
Yeah.
You know, we're so, and then the position that we're then in to acknowledge that in others, and to have real empathy, and to have, you know, a very high level of compassion, and to become more of an observer rather than a judger. And that comes from being within.
It's so about letting go of judgment, and also about not accepting if people appear to be judging you, because they have no idea. We all may go through similar type things, but how we deal with them is very personal to ourselves, you know, how we react to them. And I can't relate to the loss of a child because I've never had children, but as an 18-month-old, I had a 9-week-old sister who died. So it very much happened with my parents. And there are going to be people who can relate to that, and there are going to be people who can't. But you've got to have been very lucky to have suffered no losses in your life. People were going to suffer the loss of pets, of family, of friends, school friends. But find the blessing in their life, and find that the gifts that they brought you for the time they spent with you, and find the means to smile about it rather than, well, of course we're allowed the tears, Of course we are. The grieving is essential, but the grieving doesn't have to all be about tears. The grieving can be about the acceptance, the acknowledgement, the love that you felt for them and they felt for you, and the gift and the blessing that it was. And we don't have to see it as a negative. And we're very good, the human being is very good at grasping the negative and failing miserably at grasping the positive and the joy in the gifts that we're given.
I have a saying, grief is love announced, and the depth of your grief is a demonstration of the depth of your love. And when we have a loss, typically it's just in one area of our life, but because it's so big at that time, all these other areas are not being given attention. So with the passage of time, once that initial trauma, has moved on a little, people can be led back to, this is just a portion of my life. There are actually all these other aspects of my life as well. And the love I invested here, I can now invest over here in some that other areas that I already have, or find a new place. Find a new place, find a new activity, find a new association. Many people who suffered deep loss often end up creating trusts or charities, groups that deliver into the exact space where their own trauma came from. There's a lady here in New Zealand who had breast cancer, and her child also had cancer at the same time. So they had this unbelievable journey, and the child died. And so she has set up a charitable trust, and it's all in honour of the little girl. Kenzie was her name, so it's Kenzie's gift. And she contributes into the space of other families who have children who develop cancer, and has this wonderful public outreach and contribution. And that's a brilliant investment, placing your love into somewhere else where it can spread and fold out.
Absolutely, and spread that love with joy. It was as a gift from the heart, and it really is. Folks, if you've got any questions for Pat, because we are running sort of close to time, so if you've got any questions, please feel free to type them in and ask, because we're quite happy for you to do that. I'm sure Pat would be happy to answer a question for you. So,
love to.
So Pat, are there any other little tips that you could give folks? Something that they could try. You've talked about the journaling, we've talked about the laughter yoga, being true to yourself. We've talked about all of those, but any other little tips, anything that you've possibly done that you've found has worked for you, or somebody else has shared that you could share?
Yeah, I've often been referred to as nice. And nice in the way that people have said to me, Pat, you're too nice, and that has led me to some encounters where I am taken advantage of. So people can mistake kindness for weakness. And even in the last few years, I had some major lessons come in around the level to which knowing your values helps you create your boundaries. And so I would recommend to everybody that if you don't already know them, isolate at least your top 3 values and live into them. Mine are love, freedom, and spiritual intimacy. So they surround me in the physical, examples of that, and I endeavour to live into that as my way of being and showing up. When I had some experiences some time back, someone was breaking my boundaries, and I was at a bit of a loss to know what to do with it. And a colleague said to me, stop trying to fix them, shore yourself up. So I had to come back to within me, look at my values and look at my top 10, not just my top 3, and create, because I was allowing it. So to know your values is to not be at the whim of the external.
Yeah.
If you know your values and live into them, then you're shored and held in a much tighter place, and can, you know, walk and step out with a lot more assurance, and you're not going to be buffeted so much by others exerting their will on you.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. That just makes so much sense. It is. And don't take other people's stuff on board. We aren't here to fix other people. If they are not ready to take any suggestions, because at the end of the day, any practitioner, whether it's the laughter yoga, whatever it is, we offer a tool to empower an individual's own self-healing. We can't heal them. And if they aren't ready for that tool, you can't do anything about it. And you do better to step back from them. And it may sound cruel, but let them get on with it. Because until they are ready, there is nothing anyone can do. And they have to be ready to do it and work on it for themselves, granted maybe with some support, but we've all got to be in that right place for ourselves to move on.
And look, I think one other thing too, I've been Miss Independence since the age of 16 years and 10 months when I left home and went nursing. And this last 12 months with my body, you know, failing in such a big way, I had to ask for help. And it's been the most difficult year in so many respects, because I did need to rely on external help, and I had to ask for it. I've been giving all my life, and I'm really good at that, but I haven't been good at receiving. So the lesson that my body has brought me from that perspective is profound. The one of the other things that I do, which is still linked to this, to giving, but also about receiving, I send what I call 3 pieces of glad mail every day, honouring, celebrating, congratulating, thanking whoever for how they work. And that fits in with my philosophy of catch people doing something right. But, you know, we receive so little lovely mail these days. Usually the mail is, you know, it's got a window in it and it's a bill. So to be able to bring an element of surprise, especially in the written form, so it, you know, a letter or a card, it's got memorability. Even when I'm presenting at conferences, I give out 3 pieces of mail in that presentation. I write them the night before, and I just channel what words, what do I need to come through with to support somebody in the room today. And without fail, the 3 that I give away, they always come forward and say, how did you know? You know, they're just given randomly and written the night before. So we've got so much that we do know that we don't know that we know. And when we can go within and get to that quiet place, then so much more is revealed. And that gift of language is a gift to them, but it's also a gift to us, because the language is passing through us, and we can keep, I'm going to say, elevating the language. Sometimes our language is tinged very negatively. So the more we keep the focus and seek, then that higher level of expression comes, and we tap into the wisdom's there. We just need to source it. So our dark night of the soul is actually very valuable. but we don't appreciate that at the time.
Oh no, we never appreciated it at the time. And so many of somebody once said to me, you never know when you're being lucky. And most of us, after the event, when we realize exactly what something has done for us, can then appreciate it. But it can take months, sometimes years, to get to that stage of thinking, that was one of the best things that ever happened to me. Sounds totally ridiculous, but now you did mention that you wanted to offer folks a free gift.
Yes, I wrote this while I was off sick, actually. A friend challenged me and she said, okay, you can't go far or do very much at the moment, so why don't you write something? Write an ebook. And so I did. It's about 120 pages, I think. It's called Anti-Zac. So it's a bit of a play on Prozac. So Anti-Zac stands for amuse, enthuse, trust, intuition, zeal, attitude, and creativity. So they're the 7 sections of the book. And it's my prescription for the unhappiness epidemic. So I would love to give that. And I don't have a point of where they can access it just by pressing buttons. So if people email me, pat@joyology.co.nz, then I'll happily dispatch a copy.
So
Joyology.co.nz.
Whoops, try NZ. Right, so hopefully I've put that up right for you folks, and I must and I will put that under the video. It'll be my tomorrow morning, so that people can have got that to email that to you, Pat, and I will put it on the About Us page. It'll be up there for the next week. Again, I'll do that tomorrow morning. That will be my time, because it's obviously tomorrow morning your time at the moment anyway. So that's brilliant. Any last little thing that you would like to share with folks before we come to a close?
I believe we're here to bring joy, and the way that we do that is it's not difficult. Simply by being present, we can bring joy to ourselves and to others, and we just need to be in intention and on purpose. And life interrupts, and we just need to keep calling ourselves back into that place. So many people are moving through difficult times, so to keep our awareness around that, because we've got brothers and sisters who are in a hurting place too, and we can be a balm or a salve for each other by being present, by being aware, by being sensitive, and being a contribution. And our biggest contribution is being present, truly being present.
Brilliant. Pat, thank you so much for joining us. It has been an absolute pleasure to have you. Folks, do feel free to connect with Pat. You'll find her website. I'll put that under the YouTube video tomorrow. You'll find that on the About Us page on the Gift of Healing TV website. Do go and find out more about Pat and what she does. Next week, we are being joined by Penny Quayle Pierce, who is going to be sharing the amazing power of breath. So I hope you will join us for our next program. In the meantime, take care, folks. Have a wonderful week. And Karen says, many thanks, and I wish you all much joy and laughter in your lives. Thank you, Karen. And I hope you'll be back with us again next week. Patricia, have a brilliant day. Folks, have a great day.
Thank you.
And we'll look forward to seeing you again soon. Love, peace, and light to you all. Namaste.
Thank you. Thank you so much.